Hi, it's Wray Schelin from ProShaper Sheet Metal. This is building the Jaguar all aluminum bonnet. This is part 7B. 7A, we left it off just like this. And if you watched the video, and a lot of you did, thank you very much. We're going to dust the back of this off, put this on here, and we left this off where it was pretty tight in the nose section here, and I got a little bit of looseness over here. More on this side than this side. So I'm going to pump these up a little bit with the wheel. I brought the beater bag over here too. I'll do one side with the wheel and one side with the hammer. So I know it's right in here that I'm low, and I'm going to just take the low crowned end of the Delrin mallet here. Just give that a few little love taps. That makes a little bumpy, but that'll come out really fast. That's elastic stretching versus in the wheel will be compression stretching. Okay, so it still needs a little bit more. I'm going to give it a little more. Tells me exactly what I have to do. Someone in one of the past videos said, I got it all wrong, I should be using the paper patterns. They tell you exactly what to do. I want to see that video. I haven't seen that video yet, so whoever said that, please make that video and point that out to me, and I'll watch that video. I know how paper patterns work. They don't work anything like this. This tells me exactly. Now you can see I'm very close. I got a little spot right there. It identifies exactly where my deficiency is. I decided I'd do the other side too because it's quicker. So if you can elastic stretch, elastic stretching doesn't hardly take any effort. It localizes where you need to be doing the work really quickly, and you get the real quick results. So, okay, I'm still a little loose right there. I'm going to hit it some more right there. And I think the rest of it I'll do with the wheel. The wheel is compression stretching. And that's looking pretty good. Now we'll throw it in the wheel. We've got to dust it off because there's still dust residue from the flexible shape pattern. Make sure your other side is clean too. Get my gloves on. And we'll just wheel this stuff out. These are really minor lumps and bumps. They'll smooth out really rapidly. Again, this is a no-brainer. I don't have to put too much effort into the thought of what I'm doing here. I'm just looking for where I hit it with the hammer, and I'm just knocking those lumps down, and they go down really quickly. You can hear them also. You'll hear the little difference in noises as it rolls over it. And we probably trim this a little bit next, and that'll... The next couple things we got to do is one, trim, and two, we'll check for surface quality. There's a couple, I call them furrows, like a furrow in a farmer's field. Be just a little low spot running the whole course of the panel probably, and you just head over to those low spots and this is where the wide wheel really works good. If you have a narrow wheel, such as like a 2-inch Harbor Freight wheel, it's going to struggle with stuff like this, because you have a situation where you have a low spot like this and then 2 adjacent higher spots, and your flat wheel will bite right in, and you get what's called wheel bite. You get wheel bite from the top wheel, and you can get wheel bite from the bottom wheel, and you always got to be vigilant to make sure you don't get wheel bite. It's not the end of the world, but it does mar your nice chrome plate finish that you're looking for. And oftentimes like this, I have it in the curled arrangement. I'll work, I'm probably working like 3/4 of this surface, and then I'll turn it around and work that other end over here too. So I'm fixing the little lumps and bumps I just put in with the mallet. I'm pulling up those furrows a little bit. With this shine, you can really see all your surface deficiencies really nicely. And I also have a 4-foot light. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I got the fluorescent light here, and one of the bulbs I have both bulbs I guess, I have a piece of 1/8 inch blue vinyl tape, and if there's any deficiency in the surface, it'll show up as a real squiggle in the line, the reflection of the line. So there's still little residue from the hammer mallet blows, so I can see those still, but generally the panel's looking pretty good. So I got to give it a little more effort, maybe give it a little more pressure to settle those hammer blows down. And we'll try to run it the whole way this time here. And this is a real good example of the efficiency of working a panel out of arrangement. Of course, this thing doesn't look anything like the end result that we want. It looks like a big giant tongue, the Rolling Stones logo, except it's not red, it's silver, yeah, but it's a big giant tongue. And you would never think that this would be a part of a Jaguar bonnet. So you have to get it out of your head that the pot is not looking like what I want it to look like, because that's not our goal here. Our goal here is to create the DNA that's required for this panel. The DNA is the unique area value that defines the end look of this Jaguar panel, sub-panel. So that is being dictated to us by the flexible shape pattern. If you had a buck, you would have to constantly keep putting this back in arrangement to fit it on the buck, because the buck would not accept the part this way. Okay, and then we do the eyeballing this way here to see the reflections also. Look for those furrows, the little light distortions you'll see. That's what I call surface quality. You got to keep picking up your surface quality. You got to really move the panel around in the light to find the flaws. Now we'll check it on the flexible shape pattern again. And now we have a situation where we're getting really nice and tight. Let's see, are we loose over here? Yeah, we're a little loose right there. Okay, this is one of the subtleties of reading a flexible shape pattern. That, I believe, is probably an overdevelopment. I might have overdeveloped it a little bit here. So I got a looseness right in this section here. And to fix that, I'll have to stretch this edge out a little bit, and this will come back. So let me just wheel that edge right in here. Right now I think it's going down too fast here. And that'll come back up. But I think what we'll do before we do that is we'll save ourselves a bunch of time if we knock off a lot of this extra material. We won't have to stretch that outer edge so much. So I'm going to get some tape. I'm going to tape this down nice and tight, and then I'm going to mark a perimeter mark all the way around at the edge. And then I'm going to leave myself about 1/4 of an inch of extra material and get rid of all this surplus extra. So that will allow fixing this mistake real easy. So tape it, mark it. Alright, so we have the perimeter mark now, and we're going to just eyeball 1/4 of an inch or so beyond that perimeter line. And here we go. We got the cordless shear. I lubed it up with WD-40. There we have it. So I'm going to put this back on again and make sure you understand what I'm trying to do. Everything's nice and tight except it's loose right over here. And if this reverse curve flange edge was in here, this edge, which is right, that's where the radius of the flange starts, right in here, that edge would be loose on the panel. And that generally, anytime you see that, there's an overdevelopment right where it's loose, there's an overdevelopment right inboard. And I call that tent poling. You see, it'd be able to rotate right on that point. So there's a couple ways to fix it. One, you can take that, bring it over to the bag, you hold it out over the edge of the bag, and you just stretch this edge out a little bit. Again, this is elastic method versus the compression method. Now, we did that. We'll go back over here. And it's going to be well, it actually reads pretty good now. Now see, it's hitting right where we want it. That's pretty good. So that worked. That's all we needed. We got, let's see, we got a little bit on this side too. Yeah, there's a little bit right over on this side too. So we'll give it a little on that side. And this can frequently happen because when you're working on a panel like this, you're working through the center quite a bit. So it's very easy to overdevelop the center. All the panel starts out as underdeveloped, and your goal is to get it fully developed, but it's very easy to have small sections still underdeveloped and some sections overdeveloped. The overdeveloped, you got to fix like this. The underdeveloped, you just work on it with the wheel and it'll come right up. So now we're going to smooth this out with the wheel, check it with the flexible shape pattern again, and then we're going to chase surface quality. We'll go lower pressure. We'll make sure that this surface quality is as good as it can get. And then the next step will be, we're going to punch out all these holes where the radius starts and where we're going to be putting the profile gauges. We'll do all the punching. We'll just show you a little bit of the punching, and then we'll cut there and then come back. And the following step would be, we'll be setting the arrangement on, and this is where the oohs and the ahs will come in, because obviously this doesn't look anything like what we want it to be, but it will in a few minutes. So we're going to wheel these elastic stretched areas out here. Working right in the middle of the wheel to get these spots to come out a little bit. Give it a little more pressure. And we'll come over on this side. Okay, and that smoothed it out pretty good. And now we check the flexible shape pattern. It's sitting down pretty nicely now. So I'm actually touching right here, right where the radius is, but I'm a little deficient right in here, so I got to pump that up a little bit right in here, both sides. But I'm touching right here, which is the important fact right there. That's touching right where that radius is. So I got to pump it up right in here and right in here. So we'll give it a little more pressure right there and see what happens. Now, if I make a mistake and I go too far, then I'm going to do the same procedure over again. So if you keep doing it, the mistake over and over again, expecting different results, ... So you want to go at it in a careful, measured way to make sure you don't go too much. So that means just going a little bit and then checking it. So let's go a little bit here, and I moderated the pressure back a little bit earlier. And go back over here. All right, and then, as I mentioned, I think in some of the other videos, is this horizon view. I want to see a nice, really clean horizon view line. You hold it up against some kind of white background, and it looks a little less than perfect in a few spots, so I'm going to pick it up a little bit. And also you got the light dancing. You can see where the deficiencies are. So I see a few spots, and I'm going to pick these up. This is what I call surface quality. So I'm going to get my surface quality up as good as I possibly can right now. So I'll go after those deficiencies one at a time. And then I'll probably give the panel one finish overall wheel. So there's one little spot, needs a little more. Like that. And you got to look at it from lots of different angles. Just one angle is not good enough. So remember, when you go into the wheel, every time you go in, you should go in at 45. It lets you right in. Boom. If you go in like this, you're kind of clunking it. And the panel will take a nice ring on too once you have the area value where it's supposed to be. It almost seems to know what it wants to be. So we keep observing closely. It's all about close observation. No matter what you do in life, unless you really pay attention, you're not going to get the results you want. There's nothing difficult about this. This is just being methodical. What I'm doing here is I'm making up for my general overall procedure, which is not as methodical as what the trained English wheel practitioner would be doing, which would be that very methodical wheeling patterns with the overlapping patterns and everything. They probably won't have these little deficiencies because they took the time doing their pattern wheeling, which is a great way to do it, but I do find it boring, so I like to blast it out and find out where the problems are and then solve the problem. So it's getting better and better. So we're chasing these little low spots, little furrows. We're getting them one by one. And then we're going to hit the panel in the English method using the pattern wheeling. And we're going to do a light pressure over the entire surface. And that'll blend everything all nicely. I have the residue of the magic markers for where I put the shrinks in here, but you can see the shrinks have totally disappeared. There's just a little bit of residue over here. I should have took that magic marker stuff off, but I didn't. Now, if your wheel is not giving you a really nice surface quality like this, where you get that chrome plate look, you probably have to resurface the wheel and bring it up to like 600 grit or so anyways when you're polishing it out. If you buff the wheel, it's even better. I'm going to experiment. I made a good connection with a really super skilled chrome plater that's local, and I'm going to have him chrome plate one of my wheels, maybe with hard chrome. I don't know. I'm going to ask his opinion on it. Probably hard chrome is the way to go, but I'll respect his opinion. He's got lots of years of chrome plating experience, so I'm going to try doing that on one of my wheels. I know that has been done. That's nothing novel, but I haven't done it myself yet. And when I was younger, I was working at my grandfather's shop back in the 60s and the 70s at a restoration shop, I was very impatient. I always wanted everything all right away, quick, get it done. But as I've gotten older, I seem to have a lot of patience now. So the goal now is perfection. We always try to achieve perfection, but we never quite get there. There's always a flaw somewhere. So we're going to try. Alright, so the deficiencies in that surface quality are less and less. My horizon view is looking really sweet. I don't see too many deficiencies now. So what I'm going to do now is I'll go through, oh, there's one right there, I'll chase that one. I'm going to go through the wheel with less pressure and just track it nicely all the way through as best I can. I'm actually a very poor tracker because it's not my habit to do it. I can't wait to have a really skilled English practitioner of this craft who really knows his tracking patterns come over. And I'm sure the first time he sees me do my panels, he's probably going to be laughing and scoffing. But I think we'll both get at the same spot at the end, and all, that's like everybody says, that's all that matters. As long as you get the results. The next thing would be a clock. Who can do it the fastest? So, you know, that's always the argument with the power hammer. The power hammer can do it faster versus the English wheel. And it's true in some examples. And as I mentioned earlier in a couple other videos, that this work generally is slow in nature. You've got to take the time to get the results you want. So it's not a speed contest, it's more of a quality contest. And say you're, you know, working out of your two-car garage at home and you're building a car from scratch, making your own tube frame and superleggera inner structure and aluminum body. It might take you 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 years. And if you make one panel in 2 hours, and maybe in perfect circumstances you could have made that panel in 1 hour, when a project is going to take you that long, that lost hour is not really a lost hour, it's insignificant. So I think generally quality trumps quantity in this craft. If you have a beautiful panel versus one beautiful panel versus 2 panels that are not fitting well, the surface quality is not that good, but you made them in half the time you made the first panel, you know, it doesn't impress me. If you can make 2 panels of similar quality that in a different, using a different method with a beautiful surface on it and an area value of 100%, and the panel is just flawless and you can do it in half the time, I'm listening. I want to see what you're doing. Now, I constantly get it from the hammer guys that they're faster and they can do bigger panels. Yes, you can do bigger panels. You can do bigger panels with an English wheel too, but it becomes unwieldy, and it's just difficult to try to do a much larger panel. I say the human scale is like 1 meter square or 36 inches square. That's a good size that you can make a single individual panel. You can break that rule frequently I use a little technique. I've got a short video in my video collection on YouTube showing how you can make a low crown large panel using a device. It's basically a table over here with a little incline on it, and you bring it up to the wheel and you can do a big low crown wheel all by yourself. You don't have to have somebody else on the other end. But oftentimes it's mostly just doing panels about this size. Welding, no matter how big you make the panels, welding is an integral component of the craft. You have to get your welding skills to a really good level so that the welds basically disappear. And when that happens, you know, the size of the panel is almost immaterial. If you're making really tiny little panels that are only like 6 inches wide and 15 inches long or something, and it's going on to a big large assembly, I would say that that is probably not the best practice, and you could up your game a little bit. But going bigger and going faster, yeah, maybe that's a goal. But if you're the lone guy in the two-car garage hand building the hot rod or sports car or a 30s classic, it really doesn't matter that much. And I think that's where most of the people are. There's only a handful of guys in the whole world that you know, exceptional in this business. And even if you're really exceptional and you can make panels better and faster than other people, you still have to sell them. So it's a marketing problem too. It's not necessarily just your skill set. So you can have the most wonderful skill sets, but you have to have customers for whatever you're doing. And customers are a big component. If you don't have the right customer, you're not going to necessarily get the best success. So now that panel is looking really sweet. That was with lower pressure and it blends really nice. Looking really, really good. Beautiful reflections. I don't see too many flaws. There's some micro flaws there. Very, very difficult to see them. So now let's check the flexible shape pattern. That's nice and tight. It's showing a little loose still over here. So I might have to put a little more right in here. I think, yeah, see this is down. So the deficiency is right in here. That's that outer radius. There's a little bit of deficiency right there. So I still have to do that. I might have to pound that out with a hammer just a little bit to get that. So that will be next, but I think I'm going to break right now. Well, let me get the punch over here, and we'll punch a few of these holes again so you can see the punching. All right, so this blue line represents the radius where it comes up, and then this flange will join to the next adjoining panel. So I'm going to put some 3/16 punch holes in here. That's so we can transfer the location of that line. We want to try to hit these punches right in the middle of our line. If you're off a little, it's not the end of the world. The line itself is going to guide, and then any errors in the line will correct with the blue tape. So this is probably a 10 or 15 minute process here, punching all these holes out. These are the holes here for where the gauges go. And remember, each gauge will have an index point, and it's good to have the index point off center, so that gives you the orientation really fast when you have the off center index point. And remember, generally I don't hit the intersections with a hole at all. So we'll cut the video here now. There's no sense in you watching me punch 500 holes. So we'll be right back in a minute. Alright, so now we have the pattern all punched, so we'll be able to properly index in where all the profile gauges go. And we're doing an assessment here again. We got really nice tight fit everywhere except for right here. So we're tight here, so that tells me this edge is, this center is not overdeveloped. If this point here, that's where the radius turns, where the flange goes. So if that was loose right here, then I would say, okay, we're overdeveloped here. But we're tight here and we're tight there, so that the underdevelopment is just right in this little section right here. So we're going to pop that up a little bit. So I'm going to take and wipe the dust off, and I'm going to scratch it with just my finger here and make a little scratch mark so that I locates it really good. It's about the same spot on this side too. I think it's a little less on this side here. So we'll work that area just a little bit in the wheel and see if we can improve that. So we do some short strokes, and then we got to blend it in. We'll take that out and we'll check it. Okay, we wheeled that, and it is a definite improvement, but not thoroughly finished yet. So we're still tight here, and we just got a little bit of motion still right in here in the flexible shape pattern. So we're going to give it another dose of wheeling, maybe bump the pressure just a little bit. When you don't get the results that you want quickly, change something. So we're going to bump the pressure. That'll be our change. Okay, we'll back that off. Bring that over again. It's going to upset my surface quality a little bit, but that's okay. We've got to blend it in. Yeah, I made a little bump there almost. So we have to follow the dictates of this flexible shape pattern. This is the boss. This is the blueprint. We don't follow it because we don't think it's right or something. We're going to make a mistake. The blueprint is right. Alright, now we're a little loose right over in here. I'm going to add a little bit right in there too. So we'll chase these down, and then after we do that, we'll have to do a little bit of surface quality to make sure nothing got upset. So back in the wheel, get all the dust off, tighten her up. Loosen it up, pull it out, check it again. It'd be the same thing if you were working on a buck, except you would be in arrangement. In arrangement, you would have to use a higher crown tool. Whatever method you use, it would have to be a higher crown tool. So that's getting nice and tight there. We're still down on this radius zone here. That tightened up. I'm very happy with that. I'm sure there's some well, there's just one little more spot. You always got to look real careful. There's one little spot right there. So I'm going to chase that one more time, and then we're going to have to do surface quality too, but I'm not going to do the surface quality until I get this side tightened up. So we'll tighten this up a little bit more. That's a very small amount. And this time I'll do a little blending. What this is calling for is more area as it makes the turn down the strong radius on the side there. It just needs a little more. It might not be intuitive sometimes that you can see where it needs that extra area, but I always think in those terms of this would be like when you're a tailor and you're making a shirt and you need more material on the shoulder. So we wheeled, we check. And you have to pull tight on this to get a good reading. So making it nice and tight, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to read this side. Yes, I'm definitely loose on this side, so we're going to do the same thing over here, right in here. You always got to remember to get that dust off. After a while the dust will come off, but generally got to wipe the panel down, otherwise it embeds it into the aluminum. And we check again. We put it on our perimeter marks here. Always go back to the same spot. And that tightened up quite a bit. So the edge is still tight here. Let's see. Well, maybe a little bit right here. It could stand a little right there. So always that close observation. Patience, patience, patience. Close observation. That tightened up nice. So we're looking sweet. Alright, now I'm going to do the surface quality check. We might see some oddities around in here because we pumped those up a little bit. Might have to blend them a little. So again, we do the reflection trick and see if we see anything. Well, it's not that bad actually. I'll give it a light run with the wheel though anyway. So let me just loosen the pressure and I'll go real easy on the whole panel again. Now, any little stop mark, a stop mark is, it generally happens when you have a heavy pressure or even a medium pressure and you come to your stop and then you reverse direction. It'll leave a little what they call stop marks. It's a tiny little imperfection in the surface, and if you've got low pressure and you go over them really slow, you can feel this little vibration. So if you really want to get picky, you go low pressure and you feel for those stop marks and you slowly but sure you level them all out. It won't change the area value too much. When you're in low pressure, the area value is not affected not quickly anyways. It's really, really super subtle. So this is all about surface quality, refining the surface. So in my class, step one is the gross development of the shape, and we did that in 7A, video 7A, the one predecessor to this one. This is 7B. And we also got into a little bit of the refining of the surface, but the bulk of this video so far has been, 7B, has been refining the surface quality and making sure that the area value is correct according to our reading of the flexible shape pattern. So we're getting to the point really quickly here. We're getting a nice feel. We got nice surface quality. That we're going to pop the arrangement on this, and that's going to be the aha moment when you see the actual panel that we're desiring this whole time all of a sudden just pop. And it's sort of like the magic. And a lot of people haven't seen this before. They just can't believe it. It's all about the surface area value. The surface area value dictates what the potential look of the panel can be. If you have the surface area value correct, when you set the arrangement, which is the bending part of it, then it's going to go into the arrangement that you desire because the area value is correct. In addition to the area value, when we're doing this phase of the making of the panel, is the surface quality. Surface quality is paramount here. We have to be really concerned with our surface quality. If we get the surface quality perfect or close to it, then we don't have to put that much of a filler on the panels when we're painting them. You know, the filler could be a heavy primer, or it could be a Bondo or a polyester resin skim in a few spots or something. But this panel and this whole nose, I would think, after we get it done, will be close to, you know, super high quality, and all that would be needed would be a heavy prime at the most and a good blocking. Now, the neat thing about this craft is, I've said it many times too, is how forgiving it is. So we're taking our time, we're being, you know, super fussy with our surface quality, and even no matter how much time we take, we're going to find out that we do make a mistake here and there. And the neat thing about this craft is, even if you make mistakes, they're fixable all along the way. Now, they're easier to fix them now, but say we get this all welded together, and the ultimate test on these panels is what I call the 20-foot look. When you walk 20 feet away from a finished panel, all of a sudden something that's only 1 or 2 thousandths deficient, being either high or low from where the perfection of the panel would be, that deficiency looks like it's been run over by a bulldozer. It just looks terrible. So at that point, if it's all welded together, it's impossible to get it into the English wheel or any big shaping tool. So then you have to develop your hand skills, which would be using a slapper and a dolly and bringing the lows up. And if you have a high, then you can take and put a little heat on it. And I have a video about taking out dents in aluminum. You'll see I use a shot bag, a small leather shot bag, as the flexible dolly underneath. You heat the area up and you slap it. So highs can be dealt with later and lows can be dealt with later. So we're looking pretty good. We're looking at the reflections here. I think you can see Mark, the cameraman. We're putting him on the video right now. There's Mark. Say hi to Mike. So I wouldn't be able to make these videos without Mark. It's a big help. He does all the the editing and the camera work and the whole deal. So, vital component. It's a two-man job to make this high-quality video. And he's very good at editing. If you have any criticisms for Mark or praise, let's hear them. We're always trying to make these videos better and better. We've just begun. My goal through my class has been, for the last couple of years, is to get people involved in coach building car bodies from scratch. It's intimidating to a lot of people. They think that it's way too hard. Only a few specialists around the world can do it. And I prove in my class over and over again that I can train people that have no experience to do some very nice work. And you know the satisfaction that comes from restoring a car. And I've felt that feeling many times in the past. It doesn't give me the kick anymore because I've done it a bunch. The ultimate kick is creating your own car. Now, designing your own design is a tough thing. A lot of people think they can design their own car, but it's very difficult, and you'll get, no matter what you do, you'll come up with a lot of people that say, well, it would look better if you ... So if you want to avoid that, there's so many icon designs out there that you can copy, and there's so many wonderful suspension bits and motors, and we can go electric if you want to go electric today. We're going to be doing a lot of that in the shop in the future. So there's just so many options available. So I'm hoping to get a lot of people on board and making their own cars, trying to pump their confidence level up and showing them that it's possible to do. And there's nothing better than this aluminum. Once you work aluminum, if you haven't worked aluminum, you'll find that out very fast. So looking like the panel's looking really good. We're going to check it one more time with the flexible shape pattern. You want to hold this nice and tight. And everything is looking really sweet. So, now it comes to the magic moment. We're going to try to pop this into arrangement. And after we pop it into arrangement, there might be a few spots that we put the gauges on. We're going to have to fit the gauges on. And we do all that. Then we're going to have to do the part number 3, or step number 3, which is adding details. And the details on this would be stretching this edge and then turning the edge up. So that will take some amount of time. We're running late on this video. Maybe I do talk a little bit too much. And so we're going to make this into a part 3. So this is 7B, and 7C will be finalizing the arrangement and also tipping this outer edge and finishing the panel totally. What I'm going to do right now to finish this 7A off, or 7B off, is to just set the arrangement so it'll look now like what the panel we want to, but it won't be perfect. So we're going to do that next. So Mark, my super duper cameraman and also flexible shape pattern maker, I was deficient in my instructions. What I should have told him to do was define this radius zone. This radius zone is a tapered radius zone, and I didn't give him that instruction. So Mark, note that you always have to make sure you collect the radius zone information. So essentially we're going to have to put a lot more bending right in this radius zone versus here. There's a slight bend here and a slight bend here, but that's why it was calling for more material. Like I said, the shoulders or tail, it would have to add. This is like the shoulder right here in a shirt. So we're going to have that little zone. So you have many times that you can set the arrangement. So if you initially set the arrangement improper, it's not a big deal. I should put this pattern back on and put the arrangement lines, but I'll just go by eye here, and eventually it's the profile gauges are going to dictate to me. But if I have these here marked on the panel, when I'm bending it, it makes it a lot easier as a visual guide to know where to put the fulcrum and where to put the lever. So I'll do it by eye, and we'll see what kind of results we get here. So we're going to try to attempt to, it's going to be very resistant to bending initially. It'll do it a little at a time. You can't do it all at one go. So a little adds up to a lot. Got that side started a little bit. And you see how this is really curved this way? The more we bend it this way, the less it'll curve this way. And as you do these panels, you start to learn how this metal reacts, and it becomes intuitive. So you start to think in terms of what does the panel look like out of arrangement. And remember, the advantage of working the panel out of arrangement is now you can see if we were going to wheel it this way, we would have a problem because we'd have to have a high crown tool in there, whether it be the planishing hammer, power hammer, or English wheel, it doesn't matter. By taking it out of arrangement, you can use those low crown tools. The analogy I use there is the paintbrush. If you are painting a big surface like a barn, you don't want to use a small paintbrush because you're going to get a lousy look, and it'll take you a long time with a smaller paintbrush. It's got a smaller contact area. Now after we get this arrangement set, you can see it's starting to look what we want it to be, but remember we have to stretch this edge out for that to really set proper. So I'm not going to stretch the edge yet. That's going to, we're kind of running late on this video now, so that'll be 7C. But we will take and use my post dolly setup over here, and I call this a Fulcrum Block, and it's a piece of skid wood. This is a 1-inch cold rolled steel that comes very accurate. It's usually 999 or 998, or it could be sometimes exactly 1 inch. And we make these little sockets, and you can tighten them and put them at a height or the spin what you want. And to soften it up, I just put a Harbor Freight blanket, moving blanket on there. They work really good. So this is where that radius zone is. So we're going to just keep popping that over a little at a time, little at a time, little at a time. Do one side, and then the other side. Remember, if I make a mistake here, it's not a problem at all. These are all going to be, these profiles are all going to be dictated by the profile gauges, and that'll be in 7C. You'll see that. We're just getting it generally into its desired arrangement now. And if you keep moving the fulcrum point, and you got a soft fulcrum point, you won't make any what I call fulcrum bite marks. So we're just taking it slow. And this is definitely has to be stretched here for that, in order for that to do what it needs to do. So I'm not going to even attempt that. But you can see it's starting to look the way it's supposed to. The sides are longer because the flanges are heading downward. We want to have the flanges heading upward. Like I said, this would be a beautiful hood scoop, nice and long. There we go. So that's where we're going to leave it today. You can see that looks like the part we desire, minus the flange, the edges that will come up. We're going to do those in the tipping wheel. And that's a beautiful panel. Like I said, that'd be a beautiful hood scoop if you wanted to make a hood scoop. Okay, that's what we got for 7B. Please visit the website, ProShaper.com. Please subscribe. Hit that little bell. It tells you when a new video is up. Give me some likes. Give me some comments. Thank you very much.